One person is dead and two others injured after a fire in the city's Little Italy neighborhood. It broke out this morning in a three-story building. As Greg Ross reports, residents were scrambling to get out.
Cell phone video captures thick smoke billowing out of the back of a second-floor apartment on College Street just after 10 o'clock this morning. For this man, it was a little too close to home.
You couldn't even see out the window, just pure white gray smoke. That's why I was like, okay, something is bad.
He realized just how bad when he ran out onto his back deck. That's when he recorded this video. He says seconds later, he and several of his neighbors began evacuating the building.
Had to put my pants on and run out of here.
He says as they were leaving, fire crews were just arriving.
The firefighters were met with a deep-seated fire with heavy flame and smoke coming out of the windows. The incident commander immediately escalated the fire to a second alarm. Firefighters made immediate entry to start primary search.
Firefighters were able to get into the unit where the smoke and flames were coming from. They pulled 3 people from the building.
Unfortunately, one has been pronounced deceased by Toronto Paramedic Services. The other 2 are in hospital.
According to Toronto paramedics, the other 2 victims suffered minor injuries that were not life-threatening. The Ontario Fire Marshal's office has been called in to help investigate the origin and cause of this fire, which is mandatory anytime there is a death as the result of a fire. They tell us they expect to be on scene here for at least a couple of days. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
In New York City, 6 people are dead after a helicopter crashed into the Hudson River near Lower Manhattan. It was a tourist helicopter, and this was its 3rd flight of the day, passing near the Statue of Liberty. Witnesses said it broke apart mid-air and hit the water upside down. 6 people were on board, 3 of them children. None of them survived. The National Transportation Safety Board has been called in to investigate. And a cyclist is fighting for his life after being struck by a vehicle earlier today. It happened just before 2:15 p.m. near Queen Street East and River Street. Paramedics confirmed the male cyclist suffered life-threatening injuries and was rushed to hospital. The driver remained at the scene and is cooperating with police. The Supreme Court of Canada has ordered new first-degree murder trials for a Markham woman and 3 others convicted in an attack on the woman's parents. Jennifer Pan was sentenced in 2015 to life in prison for first-degree murder, as well as life for attempted murder in a 2010 attack that left her mother dead and her father with a serious head wound. Pan's 3 co-accused were convicted on the same charges. In its ruling today, the Supreme Court says there should be new first-degree murder trials for all 4, but upheld the convictions for attempted murder. Ontario's Court of Appeal had already ordered new trials in the first-degree murder convictions. The Court of Appeal said the trial judge erred by suggesting to the jury that only 2 scenarios for the attack. And what's in a name? For the city of Vaughan, the name American Avenue just doesn't sit well anymore. So much so that it's considering renaming the street. This, of course, comes amidst the U.S.-Canada trade war and the growing sense of patriotism in our country that it has spurred. As JP Gallardo reports, the city already has a new name in mind in honor of a Canadian icon.
This residential street in Vaughan has found itself in the middle of rising tensions between Canada and the U.S. The city is considering renaming America Avenue.
We have several residents, several homes on that street.
Vaughan Mayor Stephen Del Duca put forward a member's motion in February to have the street renamed after Terry Fox. The city is also requesting a future bridge over Highway 400 being built between Canada Drive and America Avenue to also be renamed after the Canadian icon.
The entire idea was motivated by a sense of Canadian patriotism and standing up for Canada, especially in light of what's been happening with President Trump and his moves against our country, questioning our sovereignty. Symbolically, to be able to stand up and defend Canada in every way imaginable is important.
The street itself was not intended to be in honor of America itself. In a statement to CBC Toronto, Vaughan City Councillor Marilyn Iafridi confirmed the street names in the neighborhood were inspired by nautical and exploration themes. Jack Cunningham teaches Canada-U.S. relations at U of T.
I think the gesture is essentially performative. Something like this is purely symbolic, so it's not going to have much by way of tangible consequences.
Perhaps not, but some residents believe it will, at the very least, instill a sense of Canadian pride. John Medanik has lived in the neighborhood for 20 years and supports the proposed name change.
Terry Fox has been a fantastic example for Canada, and I'd absolutely support that change. Regardless what's happening in the States, I think we would support Terry Fox.
Meanwhile, others aren't so sure it's worth the cost.
It's nice that they're going to name it after Terry Fox. Like out of anybody, it should be him. But yeah, it's going to cost a lot, and all these people are going to have to change everything on their addresses.
Del Duca did not confirm how much the name change would exactly cost residents.
There would be some cost to replace street names, street signs, literally the signs themselves. I think it's a relatively low cost, but that's only if our residents ultimately are supportive of making the name change to the street.
In the meantime, residents will have until April 24th to fill out an online survey to share their thoughts about the proposed change. JP Gallardo, CBC News, Toronto.
As the trade war between the U.S. and Canada continues, today politicians from the two countries came together at the Ontario legislature. Premier Doug Ford welcoming the Republican governor of Utah. Governor Spencer Cox says it's the first U.S.-led trade mission to Canada this year. Queen's Park reporter Loretta Redekop has more on the visit.
From the great state of
Premier Doug Ford had a visitor at Queen's Park today, the governor of Utah. Despite the tariff war with the United States, he had a message of unity.
We know we will get through this. We know we will be stronger together.
He's a Republican who says he has a great relationship with the U.S. president, but sounds much different from Donald Trump when it comes to tariffs.
What I'm hoping for is that this episode will help remove trade barriers all over the world. I believe in the importance of free trade, again, especially with our Canadian partners.
He says his trip is the first U.S.-led trade mission to Canada this year, and it was scheduled before the trade war began. Cox is also touring a nuclear plant in Ontario this week. His state is interested in the small modular reactors being built here. The visit comes as the 25% tariffs on Canadian autos, steel, and aluminum levied by the U.S. president continue. The significance of this trip, according to Premier Ford?
I think it's huge.
He says he's trying to arrange visits from other governors as well.
It is critical. The governors have massive power down there, and the president does listen to the governors.
Ford was also back on U.S. cable news today. He was asked about the message from a member of Donald Trump's team that 15 countries are close to a deal on tariffs.
Is Canada one of those 15 countries close to a deal?
No, we aren't. It's ironic that other countries that do a fraction of our trade they're making a deal, but for one reason or another, President Trump doesn't want to sit down and make a deal with Canada as of yet.
On CNN, Ford said Canada is not involved in negotiations with the U.S., but he'd like to be.
We'll drop our tariffs tomorrow if President Trump drops the tariffs.
And today, for the governor's visit, Ford wore 3 pins side by side, flags of the U.S., Canada, and Ontario.
I want to show them respect and speak the truth. We do love our American friends. We totally disagree with the president right now.
But as Ford tries to make his case through the U.S. media and politicians, it's the president who makes the decision on tariffs. Loretta Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
The province is taking next steps in expanding primary care. It's now officially accepting applications from health practitioners and centres as they look to add or expand up to 80 primary care teams across Ontario.
Chosen 125 postal codes that have the highest needs, and we will be looking specifically and accepting applications from those communities. You would maybe naturally think that it is more in Northern Ontario. In fact, we have many postal codes in Toronto, in Ottawa, in Southwestern Ontario.
The health minister says this first round will serve around 300,000 new patients and will prioritize those on the Healthcare Connect wait list. She says the teams made up of family doctors, nurses, and others like social workers and dietitians are expected to be running by summer. The province says the $213 million investment is part of a nearly $2 billion plan to give all Ontarians access to primary care by 2029. Tomorrow marks the beginning of Black Maternal Health Week, a chance to reflect on the additional risks faced by Black women in maternal health care. CBC Toronto visited North York General Hospital, speaking to several women who say that inequities are not just persistent, but preventable.
As we open this important week together, we will do so with humility, with purpose, and with hope. The data is clear, and so are the lived experiences. Black women, Black birthing people face disproportionate risks and inequities in maternal health care.
This week is a call to action, an urgent reminder that racial inequities in maternal health are not only persistent, but preventable.
And I think a lot of women, Black women who have observed is that there's an expectation that you will advocate for yourself. And that really does not take into account people who may have language barriers, who may have intellectual disabilities, or culturally may not be in a position to essentially question someone in authority. And so it's important that providers are educated in the fact that there are cultural differences in the way that people may be experiencing healthcare, and that they educate themselves about the ways in which they can support everyone that may choose to use their services.
I think collecting race-based data is important so that we have numbers to be able to know whether the interventions that we put in place are working. Even though we are going to be latecomers into collecting race-based data, perhaps this will be our own opportunity to do things in the right way to be able to effect changes that are going to be last-longing.
To mark Equal Pay Day, the Ontario Federation of Labour is resounding the alarm to all levels of government that not enough is being done to close the gender pay gap.
In Ontario alone, this played out in Bill 124, which capped the wages of public services in our schools, in our childcares, in our group homes, in our hospitals, in our long-term care homes, all places where women are providing the care our communities need.
The OFL was joined by the Equal Pay Coalition and the Workers' Action Centre this morning to demand action. With the election coming up, they're urging voters to press federal candidates to prioritize pay equity, a fight they say has been going on for 50 years. The 2025 golf season has officially teed off. Public courses have now opened across the city, just as the Masters tournament gets underway south of the border. Nama Weingarten checks in with golfers at the Tam O'Shanter Golf Course in Scarborough.
Get in, we're going golfing.
The 5 golf courses run by the city are officially open for the season. And even though it's not exactly ideal golfing weather yet, some hardcore players couldn't wait to get on the green.
I always say kind of your worst day out here is better than most of your days.
It's still very cold, but we still play.
I really wanted to come out, and I've got like 3 classes where I don't have class, so.
As a Canadian, it's just not that cold, so it's perfect weather to golf.
Well, I've never played golf, so I thought of it as an opportunity, yeah.
You got peer pressured into doing this.
Yeah.
What feels like the eternity of waiting is over.
And for golf fans, the opening is just in time for the start of the Masters tournament in Augusta. The sport is having a bit of a resurgence. Golfers played around 160,000 rounds across the city's courses back in 2017. Last year, that number went up to nearly 250,000. City Parks manager Goran Mitrevsky says the pandemic played a role there.
It was the only thing that was really open and available for people to play, so they invested in clubs, invested their time, and now they keep coming back. They fell in love with the sport.
And more interest means improvements and upgrades. The Tam O'Shanter Golf Course in Scarborough now has a new full cart path and indoor golfing simulators that'll run year-round, a first for a city-run course.
The professionals on the different tours across the world, they use this as their go-to for working on their swing and getting better. That was a good shot.
Did the mic get that? That was a good shot? Did we get that?
With pieces of equipment like this, renovations that are happening here, and investments into our courses, we're really creating new opportunities for people to participate that maybe weren't able to participate before. In 2025, we're going to continue that.
So if you're anything like me and you've never played before, they are running lessons at all of the city's courses, along with free clinics for women, children, and seniors in case you want to give it a try this season. Naama Weingarten, CBC News. Toronto.
2 workers were rushed to hospital in serious condition after becoming stuck on the crane they were operating in Etobicoke. This was the scene at the construction site on Dundas West and Kipling, where Toronto Fire says they were called earlier this afternoon. You're seeing here one of the men being rescued. Fire crews using a stretcher attached to a crane to get him down safely. The other victim was brought down through the building. The Ministry of Labour is now investigating. Hudson's Bay is still trying to figure out how to save its business. With the exception of 6 locations, all stores are now liquidating inventory. Dale Manukduk went to the Toronto warehouse where the company is offering even deeper discounts.
We're here at the Hudson's Bay warehouse in Etobicoke on Carrier Drive. Just look at this lineup of people. Shoppers were here hours before doors opened at 10 a.m. So why are they here? Well, we know that HBC is liquidating all of its inventory aside from 3 stores in the GTA and 3 in Quebec. So this is the first day that HBC has opened the warehouse to the public. Discounts are up to 60%. All sales are final and products sold as is. And while there are a lot of people here that are looking for something specific, there are a bunch that are just looking to support North America's oldest company.
This store's been around all my life. It's very sad. Sad to see it go. Another one of our big stores.
My husband calls me the Bay Babe. All right, my father trapped beaver for the Hudson Bay Company many years ago. So, and then we had some Hudson Bay blankets at the cottage. And for me, this is a big deal.
It's been a tradition for us. We've dressed our kids in HBC stripes since they were babies. So, yeah, it's a tradition that's going to be lost.
Now, they won't let us film inside, but I did do a pass-through. The first room you enter is the actual warehouse where there's mattresses, patio sets, and furniture. And then there's a smaller room with clothes, toys, decor, and some other small knickknacks. Now, liquidation did begin on March 31st and will run until mid-June. Hudson's Bay is in this situation basically because they haven't been able to pay their bills, and that's due to a number of reasons, including slower traffic post-pandemic and a drop in department store shopping overall. The company is still hanging on to these 6 stores. It wasn't ordered to liquidate and is trying to figure out a way to restructure the business. In the meantime, thousands of employees are on the chopping block, and I'm told they'll be appointed a lawyer to represent them in the next few weeks.
It will affect me, but what can I do? Yeah. Things do happen in life, so we have to cope with it. No one expects this.
It's an everything must go sale. They are constantly restocking the warehouse floor and the room with all of the clothes. The warehouse will be open to the public from Thursdays to Sundays from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. with the exception of Good Friday and Easter Sunday. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
There are signs today that the city and province could be moving towards a compromise on the government's plans to remove bike lanes in Toronto. A comfort for many who ride daily along those routes.
I use it every day, and it's infinitely better having the bike lanes to commute to work, both safety-wise for the amount of traffic.
Because a lot of riders in Toronto and the weather's getting warmer as well, so more people will be riding out.
For every time I'm cycling, that's one less person in transit, so that's more space for someone there. It's one less car on the road.
The Ford government passed legislation to remove lanes on Yonge, University and Bloor, but a spokesperson for the Transportation Ministry said the province is open to a solution that sees car and bike lanes coexist along those corridors. Mayor Chow spoke to CBC saying she believes there is a win-win solution allowing for both. Details on how that would work are unclear, but she says discussions are ongoing. With some practice and maybe a little bit of luck, one Raptors fan from Mississauga will now be able to attend every home game next season after making a half-court shot last night.
I tried to get outside and take some practice shots just to shake off the rust a little bit. I took the shot. I honestly thought I left it a little bit short. So I wasn't expecting it to go in, and then it just fell through, and then it was just a bit of a blur from there.
The team there celebrating that shot, 27-year-old Liam Rodriguez now has 2 season tickets since he knew ahead of time some prep work did go into this, and his mom was also there to see him give it his best shot. He says friends have been reaching out hoping to join him in the stands next season, but he says his fiancée will get first dibs. All right, Colette is here with more on the forecast. And Colette, another pretty chilly one out there with some rain and snow to boot.
Yeah, we just can't seem to get these temperatures to where they should be. Now, we will get there. It's going to take a couple more days, however. So at least it's not really cold Arctic air that's in place. That's kind of receded. But we're still dealing with temperatures that are well below seasonal and enough cold air that we have light snow that's been falling in many areas and not just rain showers, or in many cases it is a mix. Highs from today, 5 degrees for Toronto, Peterborough, through Oshawa as well, St. Catharines 4, but much of the afternoon and evening hours just sitting around 1 to 2 degrees and kind of holding steady there as we move through the overnight hours. So still a little bit of light precipitation. It's not very heavy, a little more consistent as we move past midnight and through the wee morning hours in eastern Ontario. However, what is really holding on is that cloud deck, and we'll continue to deal with this as we go through the day on Friday. A bit of moisture comes back in, again, just a little slushy on the roads. We maybe see a bit of it on grassy surfaces. Elsewhere it just tends to kind of melt or disappear on contact. Right on the border there between some sunny skies and the cloud cover, though, in southwestern Ontario. So you just maybe get lucky back towards the Windsor area, perhaps not making it as far as Leamington, and then that cloud cover just takes over, and we keep that into Friday and a portion of Saturday as well. We will have a better chance at getting into some sunshine for the second half of the weekend in a more, consistent way across a broader area. Now, you'll get into some sun on the day on Saturday to the north of the GTA, but the rest is probably going to be not till we get into Sunday. Still a few areas, higher elevations or with some lake enhancement, where we get a little bit of that snow going towards 2 to 4 centimeters. Otherwise, it's just a trace to a centimeter or so. And then where we have the rain showers, it's more towards eastern Ontario, where you're getting up in that 7 to 10 millimeters of rainfall there. Still some breezy conditions from time to time. Those kind of back off tomorrow afternoon, and that temperature really just doesn't move much as we go through tonight and early tomorrow. By afternoon, we will make it to 5 degrees, 8 on Saturday, and there it is. Finally, the second half of the weekend and Monday, some warmth coming back.
Okay, good news. Thanks so much, Colette. And that's our show for tonight. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great night, everyone.